Now, the BBC documentary on Nirbhaya gang rape case has snowballed into a huge controversy. The Patiala House Court has issued a restraint order against the broadcast of the documentary on Delhi Police's plea. In the documentary, one of the convicts in the case, Mukesh Singh, has justified the brutality of the crime. The Ministry of Home Affairs has also taken a serious view of the matter. The Director General of Tihar Jail has submitted his report to the Ministry of Home Affairs after the ministry sought an explanation from the jail authorities on this matter. Late last night, the Ministry of Information and Broadcasting issued an advisory to television channels asking them not to broadcast this documentary. Now, the Delhi police has already registered a case under Section 509, which is outraging the modesty of a woman, and Section 504 of the Indian Penal Code, which is intentional insult to provoke breach of trust. Now, shocked by convict Mukesh Singh's interview, Nirbhaya's parents have reiterated their demand for hanging the rapist. On the other hand, Leslie Udwin, the filmmaker, is claiming that all the necessary permissions were properly taken from authorities for shooting inside Tihar jail.
The DG of Tihar obviously had to consult with the MHA and had to decide whether this was something that would be granted. The letter basically stated this was a campaigning film, a film in the public interest. I think even 2 weeks. The answer came, yes, this is possible, you can do this. And then the official permission from MHA had to come, and that came signed, and then the permission from the prison was signed.
I will urge you to read Section 504 IPC, 505 1B IPC, 509 IPC and 66A. Once you read these sections of law, you will agree that any assertion where the late victim is being maligned or where threat is being issued and a warning is being issued to women in general, that transgresses the domain of law.
हम सिर्फ एक कदम उठाना चाहते हैं कि सरकार से भी मिलेंगे, अब हमें हर एक से मिलना पड़ेगा और मिलेंगे. हमारी एक ही मांग है कि किसी भी तरह से इनको फांसी दो और कोई रास्ता नहीं है.
Okay, let's cut across now to Kamaljeet Sandhu, who joins us from the national capital on this story. Morning, Kamal. Now, two very important questions that come to the mind as far as this particular story is concerned. We have seen how, Kamal, the central government has chosen to react. The Ministry of Home Affairs is also inquiring into the matter, trying to find out whether the requisite procedure was actually followed or not. Now, number one, my first question to you is, when was this permission given? Was it during the UPA regime or when the new dispensation took charge?
Interestingly, Sanket, this permission was given in July 2013. This was during UPA's regime. The communication was obviously between the filmmaker and the Home Ministry. But after taking that particular permission, the communication has only been between Tihar jail authorities and the filmmaker and the Centre State Division of the Home Ministry. But what we've come to know is that Home Ministry believes that prima facie the filmmaker seems to be in the violation of terms and condition, and the terms and condition were very clear that once the documentary was shot, that this should be shown with a raw version to the ministry or at least to the Tihar DG, and now that was not done, and that is why there is an intense scrutiny which is going on. Even late last night, we know the papers were being prepared, a small summary was being made as to how the violations were being done. Remember, that report has been submitted by the DG. Now, what has taken the Ministry of Home Affairs by surprise is that post-July 2013, there has been no communication and the Home Ministry has not been kept in the loop. So when the new government came in and the new dispensation really happened, they were caught completely unaware, Sanket, and that is where the embarrassment really comes in. The Home Minister sought a report. This report was submitted, but many of the congressmen who were very upset till yesterday will really have to see whether fresh reactions coming in when they find out it was the UPA's own Home Minister, Mr. Shinde, who had given the permission for this particular documentary to be made.
Absolutely, Kamalji. That's an important point that you have in fact told us. But also, you know, as a follow-up, this permission was given by the Ministry of Home Affairs, irrespective of the dispensation, which means that perhaps this information would have been available to the new political establishment as well, particularly because the producer claims that MHA had in fact given its consent to this particular interview. Then why this shock response at this moment is what many wonder.
Well, the new government is obviously saying that they were not kept in the loop. The communication was limited between the Tihar jail as well as the documentary maker. Now, the terms and conditions are very clear.
No, but then the documentary filmmaker, Kamalji, sorry to stop you there, but the documentary filmmaker claims that permission was sought from the Ministry of Home Affairs as well. The file went right up to the MHA and then it was written, signed and then delivered to them that yes, they have the permission, they can go ahead with the interview.
Well, definitely. That happened way back in July 2013. So the new dispensation obviously had no knowledge of it, considering that there was no communication which was passed on to them. After the permission was granted, it was just a to and fro written letters between the Tihar DG and the documentary maker. And obviously the final version was to be shown to the DG. We also spoke to our sources in the Centre State Division. They said, no file had come post July 2013 or even till late July, late months of 2013. So obviously they were kept out of the loop, but this is obviously a major embarrassment. Now obviously they have the INB ministry is very clear. They've already sent out an advisory saying nobody should show that particular documentary. This is obviously going into a damage control. First you give a permission for the interview, and remember, once a documentary takes a documentary maker takes that particular permission, is obviously for a broadcast. It's not for a limited personal use. This is where the loophole is being taken out, and that is why they feel in a sensitive matter like that of Nirbhaya rape case, the convict should not have been interviewed. The permission in many are now saying in the hindsight should not have been granted in the first place. But obviously the flak would be taken by both the NDA as well as the UPA for this particular action.
The point, Kamalji, that you have just made at this moment will completely change the political discourse, because what the Congress is trying to do is pin the blame on this particular government, the present establishment. However, as you point out, the permission was actually granted during the UPA rule. So perhaps the Congress too has a lot to answer, particularly Mr. Sushil Kumar Shinde, as he was at the helm of affairs in the Home Ministry. Remember, as the controversy rages on over the BBC documentary on the Nirbhaya rape case, the Congress has decided to raise this issue in Parliament today. Party MP Hanumant Rao has said that he will seek the government's response during the 0 hour today. Home Minister Rajnath Singh may speak on this issue in the Parliament today. But things are only going to get very interesting, because the Congress has tried to look at this as perhaps a sort of a flaw in the present establishment, knowing or being fully aware or perhaps being ignorant to the fact that the permission was actually granted when the Congress was actually in the ruling coalition.
This type of interview, it is again you are giving some opportunity to this type of activities, people will do it. So we can stop this type of, even media also, even BBC or whatever is the BBC have got a good name. But this type of interviews they can take, so people will hurt. And especially I am hurt this type of this thing. Or in the Parliament, definitely I will take this issue. Okay.